We are here at the launch of the Church Without Politics Movement's album with great joy and satisfaction. And we're here with the president of the movement. Pastor, I'd like you to explain a few questions to the people who will be accompanying you. And there are some questions, right, about the movement having this musical scope, this musical question. What is the aim of the movement to produce music?
Music has always been used as an instrument of expression or insertion of cultures and even of social programming. So the movement has not ruled out using this instrument to publicize the work and also the content that we are defending. We are using what they used. In fact, to be able to add followers, even sympathizers in each specific culture. So today, music is an ideological vehicle. It's a vehicle for inserting specific thoughts, even tastes and fashions, so to speak. So the movement understood that music has this power, it has this reach, this touch on people. So the movement legitimately understood that we should do the same. Why not? So this work began to be more focused on exactly that agenda.
The songs, they express indignation, right? How would the pastor explain this musical issue?
Aggressiveness? Good. Why does musicality have to be aggressive? Because what we actually represent is a position of defense. I'm not going to say an attack, but a defense of theological elements that are actually needed to be witnessed and need to be publicized, but by a class of people who today, in fact, they have no respect for the church, for his work. I'll explain further. The Lord's attitude of entering the temple and reacting against those merchants and asking for a house of prayer, demanding a house of prayer, what was his attitude at that moment? Obviously on his own authority. That was it. To be aggressive, energetic. Why is that? Because that class of people who were there was a ruling class. It was a usurping class. They had no respect for God's work or for the laws and commandments. So his position there, to be energetic, that's more or less what we're trying to convey through the music now. We wouldn't be able to transmit this indignation and even manifest content if it wasn't exactly within an aggressive musicality that has this positioning of attracting attention and even confronting. These domains or ruling classes, understand? That's exactly the aim of the moment with this musicality that some even call rock, right? So it's geared towards this vision that the message should really be heard and at the same time serve as an affront to these dominant classes that are inside the church.
Pastor, one more question. This cover here is a real eye catcher, isn't it? And it really makes people look and have a lot of questions. I'd like the pastor to talk about it, its purpose, what she wants to show, and also about the name of the CD, the album, right? Poison in Theology.
There's a lot to talk about in this picture. Firstly, the figure of Luther. Luther is one of the agents, like Calvin, who took it upon himself to give institutional emancipation to this dynasty that today many identify as the global elite. So he, like Calvin, took it upon himself to generate a specific theology for this, of what would be preached within these institutions. This third phase that they talk about is operative to speculative. It had a purpose. Confiscate education. And general education of everything that concerns education, especially religion. And these guys here, they took it upon themselves to really build philosophical elements and call it the gospel. So for a long time it was preached inside the church. this content by Protestantism. Christianity seems to be a term that aggregates all these heresies, and Protestantism is the key to one of the phases of this activation of what they wanted society to believe, of what society actually gave himself up. But it's not evangelical. When you review this content, there is no biblicality, no deed. It's just philosophy. Politics is one of them. Politics came into play. So the end of the monarchy and the beginning of the Republican era, it's a controlled phase, all programmed for this interest. Breach of free will, domination and social programming. We talk about it on the album, in every song. A little bit of that. The snake represents exactly that, a very important symbol in this institution. Her circus even represents these introductory stages of targets and protocols that they had to meet. And that's exactly what Poison is all about. Ideologies, theories, which they call utopias. So the whole of society, all these poisons were inside a labyrinth, all traced back to political teams, industrialists, etc. So this one is an agent. This Protestantism, this theology, this pilgrimage to Calvary and Luther entered the United States, came to land there and generated the geopolitics and American hegemony that has been proven historically. We even put the Statue of Liberty here as proof, exactly as a portrait of a country, of an economy, and a political power, which the United States is today, that the church helped. And without the church and without Protestantism, they wouldn't have achieved that. They logged that idea of God poured out a blessing on the American flag, that God would help the United States and give the United States emancipation from other nations. This concept that God is homeland, God is family, God is society, that governs the Magna Carta, the values. This entered the United States and helped the United States build what today the UN will practically manage and lead. This ship will be controlled by her.
And they say we're free.
We are free, the condition we are in.
They show we are free.
Ciao. Poison in theology.
We are here with the vice president of the movement. I'd like the priest to talk about some of the issues surrounding music in the movement. Under what circumstances does the movement hold musical events? It does, right? What are the circumstances?
Well, we have two circumstances to consider. The first is that the movement identifies that there is a need to publicize its existence. And then the movement, through the music, through the lyrics of the compositions, he tries to make them known to anyone who wants to know at these events its existence. And the movement tries to do this at least a few times a year, because it's an activity that we believe should take place exactly for the purpose of spreading the word. And the second thing we have to do is get people's attention so that they don't delude themselves with the occasional silence or moment of the absence of any manifestation on the part of the political religious movement. Because the agreements and even the advantages that they seek to acquire because of the involvement of the church and politics, this continues to happen. So the movement takes advantage of these moments, even if there is a silence or a lack of public manifestation from the religious political leadership, to express that the movement is there to identify that the activity behind the scenes is still going on.
And is it a presentation, a simple presentation, or a demonstration?
No, it's not a simple presentation. The musical part, the musical event, is part of the context of a manifestation of the movement that seeks to draw attention to itself through music and lyrics. The content of each of these songs, the musicality itself of everything that we have within this event, and taking advantage of the people who are called to participate or listen to the songs, The movement also organizes itself to distribute publicity material, and our members also try to inform and notify people there about our objectives and also about what they should work on and identify what happens in this environment and that they have ownership of. With the movement's material to fight and to address this issue as well.
He wanted the priest to speak about the challenges the movement has faced in putting on these musical events.
We have had two concrete occasions in which the movement has had its right to demonstrate curtailed.
One of them happened at the beginning of this year, when the movement was on Avenida Paulista, and a group of City Hall officials and GSM officers tried to stop us from carrying out the movement.
And the second, the most recent, happened in the movement
at the Renaissance in Christ Church's March for Jesus event,
where members of this church tried to stop our sound car, a sound car that the movement had rented.
also to express the musicality, so that they were in that region, in the immediate vicinity.
On the eve of the march, by making our rejection known through music, our indignation at this activity that was going to take place the next day, and members of this church tried to stop us. And then for us, what is important for people to understand is that the movement has the preparation and legal backing to defend this legitimate cause. So even if this happens and is repeated, we will never feel intimidated about this. We will be ready to defend our right to express what the demonstration is about and what the movement itself defends.
Pastor, how can people buy the album, listen to the album? How do they do it?
We've already made it available on the digital platforms. It's available for everyone to listen to. And the detail is that even the priest spoke here, and free of charge, which means that people won't have to pay anything for it. Which is a promise that the movement made and obviously aims to honor until its existence. So all the music, all the material that the movement produces, there is no cost. There is nothing. So those who really want to collaborate with the movement, offer to help. There is already this breakdown on our website there. For those who really want to take the initiative, which is not mandatory, but the movement is willing to carry this message at no cost. Whatever we produce, it will be available to everyone. It's no different either.
Pastor, a final consideration. So that people can actually buy the album, and listen to it and witness in the songs the message we want to convey.
My first observation, we are no better than anyone else. You left that system. Me too. Many people who are here were once there. Held hostage by the institutions they ran at the time. The first appeal I'd like to make to anyone who's really going to follow the movement, listen to this album, is that we're also partly to blame for everything that's happened because we were there and we fueled it, you know? Especially by those who come from traditional families, who have received all this gospel. The parents made it so, which is more or less my story, and suddenly yours too. So we can say that, how sticky it is, how much it really demands liberation. And how people depend, right? Always to be there in the group, to be there in that socialite, evangelical, the whole social thing. So there is perception in some, but they can't free themselves because they need this formality, this institutional link. So we gave it up. We have given up everything in order to be able to work with an original faith that is practically against the whole system. Ladies, we're questioning the whole system. So, to take it with faith and love, you have to love Jesus very much. It's no use. You have to be very sure that he's something important in your life. So, the movement believes this. That we're not better than anyone else. We're not above anyone else. but that there is a truth that we work on. He wants to spread. Got it? Through music, through videos, through notes, it doesn't matter. Now details. And we want to be questioned. We also want to be questioned. Who's going to ask? Question, we are wrong. What we are saying is not right. It is not biblical. It is not scriptural. So question. So the movement is open to leaving this message without authoritarianism. No, we don't want to create a class. We don't want to create a new church, but to highlight the truth. That Jesus came down here to preach. That's our dream. That's our vocation. This is our purpose as the Church of Christ and also as a movement, Church Without Politics. So this album, these songs, they have His life and our love for Him. And we were even talking here now that the movement has been in existence for 3 years. But this is a fight in my life, in my ministry, 30 years of my life. So one piece of advice I would give, if anyone is really willing to intercede for the work of Christ and for people and souls today, as we are doing, you're going to have to love this Jesus very much, and you're going to have to give up a lot. Because we are against the system. Got it, so that's my message. He who loves, he who believes, grasps. Do something, help, because that's what this material is really for. I'd like to thank the movement for the opportunity to get together once again. We hope to have other projects ahead of us. Now we have a job to publicize, and we're going to keep going.